What if I told you that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is spooky? You'd be saying, what are you, stupid? Because you're looking too deep into things. Well, it's a video game. Play it however you want. What I'm about to discuss isn't exactly scary. I've seen all there is to see as far as hidden Easter eggs in this whole franchise. Shout out to Hot Header. I'm gonna get fancy instead and have an experiment, just for fun. I got the idea for this video after a conversation I had with a friend while we were both in bed with your mom one particularly spicy evening, and I thought, maybe I should experiment with this a little bit. I'm gonna look at these games through the lens of a liminal space. If for whatever reason you're not hip to what liminal is, it derives from the Latin term limen, meaning threshold, and it is defined as relating to a transitional or initial stage of a process. A liminal space is a place you're in during a time that's not usual for said space. A stage of transition, especially a transition in their life, like a divorce or their parents divorcing or maybe even moving house. Now, I think the term liminal is used a little liberally by people who don't necessarily know what it means. It's not just a fancy word for not normal as a blanket term for everything that isn't normal, nor is it a fancy word for empty room. Liminal space specifically applies to a phenomenon such as, well, I recognize this place, but something doesn't feel quite right. It hits you in the nostalgia bone just enough, but there is something that's noticeable, maybe not at first, that makes everything feel surreal and just off. Like you shouldn't be there at this point in time. Now apply that to a space like a mall, even maybe not the best comparison because malls across the country are just dying. A lot of them are on life support right now. But when you picture a mall, it's usually crowded with people, ambient noise, distant chatter, essentially a normal day in said mall. Now picture that mall at closing time, or after hours, or maybe it is abandoned, who knows. You're the only person in that mall. You wander throughout the large open space, not another soul to accompany you. Most people would say they're not used to seeing a place like this that's usually full of people so void of life, and that's where the term liminal comes into play. You're in the mall during a time that's not usual for you to be there. There's a small sense of it being forbidden. I don't know if it's closing time, then it probably is forbidden. Now, given this phenomenon doesn't apply to everyone, there are people who work graveyard shifts that regularly work in these conditions, in these essentially ghost towns. Depending on who you are, you could find these situations to be either normal or not normal, serene or unsettling. I don't find them to be really creepy in a large capacity, but I'm intrigued by the internet's interest in these liminal spaces. I've watched several videos on them, and I can get why someone would be off-put by such a phenomenon. It's all based on your past experiences. Now, I know I'm going to get tomatoes thrown at me for even mentioning this site, but I'm going to go ahead and just rip the band-aid off right here, but there is a whole subreddit dedicated to these liminal spaces if you need more examples. Now that we've successfully gotten off the beaten path, let's get back on track with how this pertains to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Now, where do skaters usually go for their sessions? Malls closed for the night, schools on summer break, maybe a street mission or two, the world's their oyster. If you're a skateboarder and have normally done this, then you'll feel quite at home. An open, empty space that's usually bustling with people alone isn't going to be liminal to you. So here's what I did to experiment with liminality in the first Tony Hawk game. Boot up the game and turn off the music. I know, sacrilege, right? I advanced to the mall map and just cruised around. There is no Superman by Goldfinger to accompany me in my time here. It doesn't do much for me because I have had to turn off the music in these games before just to skirt the YouTube copyright system so they don't spread my cheeks for easy entry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you about 30 seconds of raw gameplay, no music, no commentary, just sounds. If you've only ever played this game with the music on, then you have one of two reactions. One, turn the fucking music back on, it's boring without it. Number two, turn on the fucking music because a piece of the experience is missing, or, oh, okay, technically three reactions. Number three, wow, playing through these familiar levels without the music is an odd, awkward feeling. For the young kids out there that were still just a glint in the milkman's eye when these games came out who probably haven't played many PS1 games, the low draw distance and fog can also be off-putting for them, which I'm not sure I fully understand. It's not like the new Pokemon games that just dropped that have pop in like a motherfucker. It's just low render distance. I have to make this clear, it's the hardware limitations of the PS1 that we don't have more sustenance in these levels as well. If you were to go into the school level, for instance, if you were to just stop your board, the sound of the wheels rolling, stopping, there is no background ambient noise. So these levels can seem a little more like ghost towns when the music is off. All in all, turning off the music for this game does change the experience, especially if you're going to aimlessly explore in Freescape. The music does breathe life into a game that's doing its best for being on 5th gen hardware. It doesn't do much for me personally because I'm 26. I mean, I grew up with PS1 and PS2 titles. This shit's like home to me. Now, to get rid of the late stage zoomers, I'm going to go forward a little bit and try out these maps in Pro Skater 2X for the Xbox. Music's off, we're going into the mall level. Again, if you've only played these games with the music on, having it off is a different experience. One little side note I would like to point out is that in the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the banner that says sale at the top, right as you come through the entry, it says 30% off. In Pro Skater 2X, it says 58% off. So there is a little continuity about this mall going out of business. And spoiler alert, in Pro Skater 1+2, it's abandoned. Next, I went to the park editor of the original Pro Skater 2 since that was a common recommendation on the original iteration of this video. I slapped a few things together in this map, keeping the obstacles sparse in classic Liminal fashion, or minimalist maybe? And yep, it's a creative park that's got a few things in it. It was kind of fun though with how I put it together. I could get some cool little lines out of it. And that's it. Not a whole lot of meat on those bones because, well, it's a level I created, so it doesn't have an effect on me at all. So to wrap this all up and put a pretty little bow on top, in the end, it's all up to the player's interpretation. Like I said in the beginning, it's a video game. Play it however the fuck you want. Personally, after playing these games for most of my life in various different forms, it doesn't have much of an effect on me, but knowing the psychology behind liminal spaces and liminal, whatever you want to call it, I can understand why some people could find it liminal. This video was more or less an experiment and maybe a conversation starter, so what do you guys think? I'm gonna pass this on to you. Are there any other Tony Hawk games that may trigger this phenomenon to you? Maybe something from Underground or maybe even Proving Ground? Leave your thoughts below in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, as I know I pissed some of you guys off when I deleted the original video, but I wanted to do you guys one better, cover a bit more ground, and finesse it a little bit more. And that's it. Until next time, go skate.